back for another equipment review. Today we have got this big box from Mirafit once again, and it contains a plate loadable lat pull down and seated row. So in today's video we're going to be having a look at the unboxing process, a brief review of the equipment itself, and then a comparison to a much cheaper, like sort of off the shelf plate loadable lat pull down and seated row combination that I've had for a couple of months now, and see where the Mirafit one wins and also where you might want to go for the budget option. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this review. Before we get started, if you could leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. I review every new bit of gym equipment that I get, and also do videos capturing my training most weeks. So if you guys could subscribe and keep up to date with those videos, that'll help me out massively. But without further ado, let's get into the video and the first part, which is the unboxing and delivery process of Mirafit equipment. So the best thing I think about Mirafit equipment personally is the fact that it is very affordable, but also the delivery time and delivery cost is next to nothing. So I ordered this on Friday or Saturday last week. It is now Thursday of the following week, and this actually arrived yesterday on the Wednesday. So it only took literally about 3 working days to get this from Mirafit to my front door, and I live in the middle of nowhere in the UK, so yeah, it really proves that it can get there really quick, and also the delivery cost is just a flat £5 fee. Yeah, and it's brilliant, honestly. I've never had any issues with Mirafit getting delivered. It always is delivered within 3 to 5 days and for a super cheap cost, and it is never damaged upon arrival. It is boxed very, very well. And yeah, I just have nothing bad to say about the delivery time of Mirafit products. So let's jump to the unboxing process. So we are in handheld mode now to unbox this lat pull down, and it should be as easy as all the other Mirafit equipment. And it's just get some scissors to these straps, and these scissors are super blunt. So there we are. Get the scissors to the straps and then go around the edge and get this tape seal up. And once I've done that to all of the straps and the tape seal all the way around, we will unbox it and see how it's packed. So here we are, the tape is cut and the straps are broken, and if we go to unbox it now, should be as simple as just unfolding the box like any other cardboard box, and there we go. So inside we have everything individually wrapped, and as you can see there's an extra layer of protection on the rollers and the bench so it doesn't get damaged, and then everything else, yeah, individually wrapped and I believe numbered. Here we have our instruction manual here. It comes with a little assembly tool there, and that is what we are going to be building. So the main reason why Mirafit is so cheap and easy to deliver is because it's majoritively self-assembly. So it is really the IKEA of gym equipment. Here in the instructions we have a full numbered parts list, so it's easy to identify if you're missing anything. And then when we flip the page, we're straight into the assembly here, and it is literally as simple as assembling an IKEA sofa or furniture. It gives you a full instruction. It has never been too difficult to assemble things. I've got plenty of Mirafit kit around the room, and I've never had any issue assembling it, and 90% of that assembly has been done on my own as well. Now this lat pull down may be a bit difficult to do alone, so I might need to enlist some help, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get all the parts out of the box, lay them out, and we will be able to see what we're working with. And my bad, by the way, that thing that was in the bag with the instructions is not actually an assembly tool, but it's this little hand sanitizery sort of pouch. I guess it's possibly some oil for the pulleys to make sure they run smoothly, but we'll definitely put that to one side and see what it's used for later. So here we are then. All of the parts are out of their boxed and plastics and are unwrapped on the floor here, organised. And as you can see, there isn't actually that much. If you look at it, all of the pulleys are already assembled in, which wasn't the case on my cheap one, but we'll get to that later. And yeah, everything is pretty much there and ready to be bolted together. So without further ado, I am going to just build this. I'll give you an update for how long it took me, how many people, etc. after we've done it, and then we will give the whole thing a full review. So this is actually a very nice touch that is included, that wasn't included on any other equipment I've seen anyway, is you get a little hardware pack here with all of your things labelled, but also a couple of wrenches. So if you are stuck without any sort of wrench, spanner, drill or anything like that, then this is, you don't need it. You've got some in the pack. Obviously, I'd still recommend using some sort of powered device or a bigger wrench or whatever, but if you are really stuck, then they do include it for you to go and use, so you're not stuck without being able to put it together. Okay guys, there we have it. The build is complete, and already you can see just how much bigger it is than the old one we have here. We will get into a comparison of those two after we have done a solo review of this one, but I want to say the build time was about an hour. It's been an hour and 15 minutes since I filmed the last clip, so yeah, it was a nice and easy build, mainly done by myself, just a little bit of help getting the longer poles in just because of how tall the garage is, as you can see. Not much taller than the lat pull down itself, so a bit difficult without tilting to get that on there, but otherwise really easy build. Yeah, really happy with that. Let's get into the review. So first things first, starting at the bottom here, we have the foot plate for the seated row. So this is very nice and sturdy, as you can see, no give whatsoever. There is a little cradle here for the handle, which is included, and you get a chain so that you can reach it nice and easily rather than it being right down connected straight to the cable. Now this cable system is very smart. It runs through the structure along the bottom, through that small hole, and then up and into this double pulley system here, so you do not have to faff around with taking off one pulley to attach the lat pull down bit and the seated row bit. You will see that is something we do have to do with this. As you can see, there's a bit of a cable on the floor there, which we will get into in the comparison, but yeah, this allows you to use both the lat pull down and the seated row without having to faff around with cables whatsoever, which is a big plus in my opinion, especially just for like supersets and things like that. I often like to do a lat pull down seated row superset, and yeah, just not having to faff around with cables on that is really, really nice. So moving up to the seating area here, we can see that the padding on this isn't actually smooth like it is on some of the other things you see. It's actually textured, which gives it a bit of grip, which is nice. There you can see it is nice and textured. It's really high quality feeling as well. It's absolutely no give in pretty much the whole thing whatsoever, which is really good. These thigh pads are the same material as the bench, and they are the part that you can adjust. So you can't adjust the height of the bench, but you can adjust the height of these rollers, and that is just done with a nice little pop pin back here. Really nice and easy to do. I've got it on the max setting here because I've got big old legs, but yeah, it moves up and down really nice and easily. And the best thing about this is that they are actually screwed in rather than just placed on there. These ones over here we will get to in a minute, but they're crap, and I'll go into why in a bit. But these, really high quality, won't come off on you, and are really comfortable as well. Doesn't hurt my thighs whatsoever. So moving on up now to the lat pull down handle itself. This handle is included. It has got those rubber grips on the end. Not my personal favourite. I preferred a knurled handle in both circumstances, but the rubber grips themselves don't feel like they're going to slide off or rotate. This lat pull down handle is a nice width. The one on the cheap one's actually a bit wider, so we'll get into that later. But again, this is just attached nice and easily up here, really nice and smooth, and it's got itself a cradle as well, which is always nice to keep that out of the way, stop you smacking your head on it. The upright has a really nice Mirafit logo on it, like Mirafit always does. I believe this is a sticker, but I've had no issue with them peeling anywhere else. It's just a nice bit of branding there. And then the final thing we need to move on to is the actual cable carriage itself. So the plate carriage and the cables themselves feel really high quality. They don't feel like they're ever gonna fray or anything. They're a nice rubbery sort of smooth texture. We'll get onto the other ones on the cheaper cable set as well later. And then we got these smooth stainless steel uprights here. The cable system themselves, as you can see, has got this double pulley in the middle, which is how we're allowed to do lat pull downs and seated rows. The same. I haven't seen how weight feels on this yet, but we will do so later on in the review. But if we go down to the base here, we've got these really nice and long plate sleeves. They are Olympic plate 2-inch diameter ones, but they are long. You'll be able to fit as much weight as you'll ever need on this, really, by the looks of things. Yeah, it looks really, really solid. I mean, you can compare the size of this one, is just not great, but you can only use 2-inch diameter plates on this, which is one minor drawback, but I think the pros vastly outweigh the cons, and most people use 2-inch diameter plates anyway, so I don't see that as too much of an issue. And you can see just how wide that back carriage area is. You can fit a load of weight on there. You'll never need anything more than that, and yeah, it moves nice and smooth. So the final part of this review I'm going to do is a comparison between both the cheap £100 and the more expensive £500 lat pull downs here. And the first point of comparison is, of course, we're going to load up some weight, see how they move, see how they feel, see the range of motion, that sort of thing. So without further ado, let's jump to that part of the comparison. So starting off here with the cheap lat pull down, we've got 20 kilos loaded up on both of these lat pull downs to compare and contrast how different they feel and how much easier the actual pull is on both of them. So we'll start off with the lat pull down. The cheap one, as you can see, first and foremost, the position of the actual pull down itself is way back over my back, so I have to lean right back to get into position on it. And as you can probably tell, the range of motion is not great. You can see I can get pretty much back to the top without even a straight arm, and it just feels a bit clunky. Yeah, not great. It's not bad, and for the price it is, I would still recommend it, but you can see I have to lean right back, and my legs don't even fit under the highest elevation of this roller pad. We'll get onto these more later. And the seat is the part you adjust, not these. So this is as wide as I can get. I can't even get my legs under it. But compare that to the Mirafit Lat Pulldown. As you can see when I sit down, the lat pull down itself is in a much better position. It is directly overhead. It's not way out behind me, which is really, really nice. And when I pull down, I can get a full range of motion without touching the plates to the base, which is really, really nice and really beneficial. I can get a really nice squeeze in a much better position, and I have no trouble whatsoever getting my feet underneath, getting my legs rather underneath these pads. So really happy with that. As for the ease of the pull, both feel pretty equivalent. Both are at the end of the day sliders on some poles, stainless steel. The fact that the Mirafit one uses 2 cylindrical poles rather than one box shaped hole. I think the Mirafit one is the slight edge of ease, but honestly, I can't really tell too much of a difference. So the next most important part here is obviously the seated row. Now the cheap one does not have a seated row inbuilt with it. It's actually got a bicep curl. So we'll compare these as if they're similar, because you can also do bicep curls on this one, but this also has the added functionality of a seated row. So easy enough for this one. You just sit, grab the handle, and well, row. This feels really nice stretch, and yeah, it's nice and easy. Whereas this is a bit more of a faff. So in order to get this into its bicep curl ready position, I have to unclip the lat pull down handle, get the cable for the bicep curl, clip that in, which is always a bit of a faff. I can never get it first try. And then I'm ready to bicep curl. And what will immediately happen when you go to bicep curl with this is you go to bicep curl, the whole bloody thing lifts up. So you have to stand on it here, and then you get a really tight range of motion that feels really horrible, to be honest, and it's really not very smooth at all. It's just a bit grim. I hate doing bicep curls on this piece of cheap equipment here. So yeah, if I wanted to do bicep curls on the Mirafit one, for example, it's much easier. I don't have to faff around with the cable whatsoever. I can stand much further back, the whole thing won't lift up, and look at that. A much nicer range of motion. There's absolutely no scraping, and the whole thing feels much smoother in general. So the Mirafit one definitely gets a win in that point. And another thing for tricep push downs with this one, you have to stand right over the top of it because of the way this is. If I just grab this off and get that pull down handle back again. Because of the way this is, we can't pull it out further. The cable then scrapes along the front and it scratches off the actual lining of the cable, which I'll show you in a minute. So for tricep push downs, you have to get right over the top of it, push right down. It's really not very comfortable. It's all right, and you can definitely do them, but it's not very comfortable. Whereas the Mirafit one has much more give, so you can come right out the back here and still do your tricep push downs in a much better range of motion, a much better feeling. It feels a lot smoother, and the cable will not scrape either. And this has enough give on both the bottom and the top with angles that you could do loads of exercises such as lat pullovers, triceps, You can do single arm cable rows, you can do lateral raises, you can do plenty of things on this because that cable allows you to be angled. The only thing you might not be able to get away with is things that need to come right on the front here, such as face pulls. But even then, you can get away with a face pull. On this, it's just not quite as high as you want. And you may have noticed there was absolutely no tipping on this whatsoever. On the cheaper one, if I tried to do that, the whole thing's going to tip forward. So to zone closer in on a couple points of comparison that I really want to go into, first things first being the actual rollers themselves. As you can see, the Mirafit one's screwed in that lovely texture, adjustable with a pop pin, whereas the cheap ones over here, you just slide. Like, these are all just foam, really uncomfortable, and they slide on and off, which is good because it gives you a level of adjustment there, being able to choose which hole you want them in. But bad because, for one, it does that, but also for two, these can slide off while you're using it and become a bit of a pain. So really not great. And as I said, the chair as well is adjustable with a screw and pop pin there. I have it right in the base position now. I wouldn't want it any higher, but I guess for shorter people, having it a bit higher might help. But I'm already limited with range of motion on this anyway, so I can't go any lower. In order to get a full range of motion on this, I actually have to sit on the floor. So not great. And another point being with the cables, as you can see on the Mirafit one here, there is ample space at the front where you can get a much greater angle, which is what I was on about just now. Whereas on this one, the cheap one, there is literally no space. It's either straight down or nothing. You can't get any sort of angle there. And it's the same on the base here. It's either straight up and down, whereas the Mirafit one has, well, really as much space as you want because it's coming out the front. You can really go anywhere with that. So yeah, and the final point of comparison with these two is the plates. So the Mirafit one, really easy, just to grab a plate, slide it on and off. It does have this black coating on it, which I know will scratch. As you can see, it already has scratch, but I'm not too bothered about this. This is here for me to use, not to look good. If you guys mind scratching, then you might not like this too much. But the problem with this one is if I want to grab a plate off of this, is I grab it and the whole bloody sleeve comes off, which is a faff and a half, and then I can't get it back on, and you have to do it two-handed. It's just, yeah, it's a pain. But that is because this accepts both 2-inch and 1-inch plates. So if you want a 1-inch plate, you use that. If you want a 2-inch plate, you just slide this over the top. But for someone who uses 2-inch plates, it does make it an absolute faff. But if you have 1-inch plates, you can use them. So it's good and bad. But yeah, it doesn't really make any sense to me because I just use 2-inch plates. So as I said before, the included handles are very similar. The Mirafit one is slightly shorter than the cheapo one over here, but the cheapo one's rubber ends do tend to spin on me, which is not great. They have come off on me doing lat pull downs as well. These ones don't feel like they will do, but obviously I haven't used it nearly as much as I've used the cheap one because I've only just got it, so time will tell, but it feels a lot more stable. These ones were slippy and rotated right from the get-go. These ones have not, so hopefully they hold up well. Same story with the lower handle as well. Very similar, but on the cheaper one, the rubber handles on the end do tend to rotate. And as I said, the biggest drawback before the cheap one here is the fact that in order to do the bottom half of the cable stack, you have to unclip the top half, drag the cable up, clip it in. Whereas this one, it's always ready to go either way, which is obviously the biggest difference to me. So the question you guys want to know from me, Toby, is it worth spending an extra £200 or £300 to get a Mirafit Lat Pulldown, or should we go for the cheap $100 option, which has actually gone up now to £150? So which one would I recommend? Well, having had both now, the cheap one here was good for what it says on the box. Like, you can do lat pull downs on them, you can do biceps and triceps on them, but that's really it. The lat pull downs aren't great for a taller person like me, but I think they're fine for shorter people. If you want to use 1-inch plates, go for this one. The carriage is not great. The cables tend to fray and scrape if you try and do triceps but don't put it straight down. And the main thing is it's really wobbly, like really wobbly. The bolts tend to come loose on it really, really easy. and it's not great. The pulleys like to get stuck, so the cable, as you can see, it likes to fray, and I've had to tape it up there. So it's good, but it won't last, and especially if you're as strong as I am, you can't really get what you want out of it, which is mainly why I've wanted to upgrade here. So I think that it is worth spending the extra money on this. Mirafit are probably the best fitness equipment company in the UK at the moment for cheap and easy delivery, self-assembly. It is just brilliant. This is a lot less wobbly. There's literally no give whatsoever. You don't have to faff with the cables. The plate system is much nicer. It only accepts 2-inch plates as a minor drawback, but it feels smoother. I can get a better range of motion. I could do a wider variety of exercises on it. The thing doesn't flip up or move when I try and do things like single arm cable rows, bicep curls, and the main thing, of course, is it's got a seated row attachment, and seated rows are one of my favourite exercises. So all in all, yes, I think it is worth to just spend that little bit of extra money to get a much higher quality, longer lasting piece of equipment. That is my humble opinion, but obviously this is a review and comparison. If you have watched this review and decided, well, I prefer the cheaper one, I'm not going to spend extra money, that's great, go for it. If it feels like it will fulfill your needs, go for it. Just don't be surprised if it doesn't last quite as long as you want it to, or it doesn't live up to expectation, because it certainly hasn't lived up to mine. Whereas the Mirafit one, we will see with how long it does last, but it feels much more high quality. It feels like it's going to last. And as I said, you could do far more on it. So if you enjoyed this in-depth review and comparison of the Mirafit plate-loadable lat pull-down and seated row versus the cheap Amazon off-brand lat pull-down and cable bicep curl attachment, whatever it's called, then leave a like down below, please. If you ended up going out and getting either of these from this review, let me know in the comments. I love to see it when you guys take my advice, but I would highly recommend the Mirafit one. I mean, I've made the upgrade myself because of how disappointed I was with the cheap one, and I'm already blown away by this Mirafit one for the price as well, and the ease of delivery, the ease of assembly. It's brilliant, and I can't see myself upgrading from it anytime soon. So thank you guys so much for watching. As I said, leave a like down below if you enjoyed, and it'd mean the world if you guys could subscribe. I do reviews on any new piece of equipment that I get. If you want to see any specific pieces of equipment that I haven't reviewed that are in my gym in the background now, let me know. Or if you want to see me get any bit of equipment, link it to me, and if I have the budget, I will go out and get it and review it for you guys. But I also cover my training. I train Strongman, so I do about one video a week on my training, where I use all these equipment. And if you want to see the lat pull down in use, then in my next video I will be using it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Toby, and I will see you in the next video.